Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before we start with the topics that I have for you today, very interesting story about Zelensky's parents. We're gonna start with that and the corruption, of course, what else? I want to tell you that yesterday I have recorded probably one of the most important and informative videos I have ever recorded in regards to Russia. Who really runs Russia, who has the most influence over Russian government, Kremlin, and why this conflict in Ukraine is still going on. That video would be a little bit too much for YouTube because, you know, it's not easy to present certain topics here. So you find it on Patreon and locals. And I am absolutely certain that you will appreciate the content and the information provided in that video. So if you're interested to dive a little bit deeper into the truth, not the military moves of the conflict in Ukraine and what set the ground for it, go to Patreon and locals. You find the links down below in the description box. Before we start, thank you to James for your donation on my PayPal. Very much appreciated. So guys, where do we start? We start with Zelensky's parents. There is a story that has been circulating for the last, I think, 2 or 3 days about some corruption. Surprise, surprise. 11 million US dollars that Zelensky's parents has allegedly or maybe not allegedly received. And they have been investigated, but it looks like this investigation is already finished. So everything is good. Back to how it used to be. So here is the story.
News outlets have reported that Oleksandr Zelensky and Rima Zelensky, the parents of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, were detained and later released after Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau, NABU, searched their apartment in Kryvyi Rih. According to a NABU spokesperson, the search, which took place on June 30th, was linked to suspected tax evasion. More than $11 million was reportedly deposited into the couple's bank accounts in 2025. While detained Oleksandr Zelensky and his wife were questioned about the source and nature of the funds. Zelensky's parents were released shortly afterward, allegedly after NABU's chair received a call from Kyrylo Budanov, head of the office of the president of Ukraine. The funds in question were reportedly described by Zelensky's parents as gifts.
Yeah, as gifts. So life is good. Nothing has changed. We just kind of know another stream of income that went into that direction. And now I want to take you as far as the income and relocation and the land. So as far as business goes, I want to take you to Argentina, everyone, because let's not forget those fires were not for nothing, like they had to be for something. So here is the latest update from Argentina. And let me just mute this 1 moment. And of course, you know who this is. This is the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, or maybe we should say Milejkowski, because his cousin, allegedly or not, I think not. I think actually this is his real cousin because he loves him very much. Benjamin Netanyahu, meaning Benjamin Milejkowski. So we have Milei and Milejkowski. And what's going on? I will be playing this, but I will be reading at the same time. Argentina's president officially allocated 100,000 hectares of forest land, so the same that was burning, that part, 4 times the size of Gaza, which caught fires a few months ago to Israel. So let's read this. The growing debate over Argentina's Patagonia region. International policy analysts are closely watching a highly publicized domestic controversy in Argentina. Rumors surrounding an administrative filing, expedient, I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyway, here you have the numbers. Allege a proposed private development covering 100,000 hectares of land in the south, roughly 4 times the geographic size of Gaza. The friction comes as libertarian President Javier Milei aggressively shifts Argentina's foreign policy footprint. Let me close this. Let's stop this, okay? Footprint, forging unprecedented strategic ties with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu under the newly minted Isaac Accords. While the administration highlights these pacts as vital for economic security, they like this, right? Everything is for security. And counter-terrorism, that's another thing. Everything is for security and counter-terrorism cooperation. Opposition figures express concern over territorial sovereignty. Adding to the tension, the project focuses on sectors previously hit by devastating Patagonian wildfires, which local authorities confirmed were acts of arson. Yeah. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Well, we are not surprised. Let me find this video here. This is, I don't know if this is AI. What do you think? A large banner saying, quoting, I cannot say because this platform, you know, destroying the country with I, was displayed today during the San Famine celebrations in Spain, expressing solidarity with the people of Palestine. The banner was raised among festival crowds during the well-known event in Pamplona, so Spain, where political messages and displays have occasionally appeared alongside the traditional festivities. So now, since we are on the topic of banners, and since there is a summit in Turkey, Ankara, I guess, right? Here is another one. Hide your children, Trump is coming. This banner was hung from a bridge in Istanbul ahead of Trump's trip to Turkey this week. Here you can see it. I think you can see it. Let's stop when it's actually... Oh boy. And someone says, I support the message. I support this message. Yeah, you can see it right here. Hide your children. Trump is coming. So guys, since we have that summit in Turkey or Turkey, I want to play 2 videos for you in a row because they are, of course, connected. You know what is the next target, right? Like for the Greater Israel Project, Turkey is very important, and the next conflict will be with Turkey. So here is Milejkowski or Netanyahu speaking about it. And then we're gonna go to the rabbi. I remind you again, because I think I played him before, who's gonna tell you again that we have to prepare for the next war with Egypt and Turkey, or Turkey. So let's take a listen.
The thing I'd like to say, because we're on the verge of the president's going to Turkey, look, Turkey is a great country, but it's governed by a man who calls openly for the annihilation of Israel. He occupies half of Cyprus, a NATO country. He's threatening Greece, another NATO country, and he talks openly about conquering Jerusalem. His foreign minister, his number 2, said that the Jewish state hasn't a place among humanity. Basically, it has to be wiped out. His interior minister, said he looks forward to be the governor of Jerusalem. Well, for a regime infected by the Muslim Brotherhood, an extreme movement that hates America and chants death to America from that side of the spectrum, I don't think they should be given F-35s or the engines for their fighter jets, because that'll upset the power balance in the Middle East, which is ultimately guaranteed by Israeli air superiority and also by, I think, by America's posture in the Middle East. The other thing I'd like to say.
So he openly said to Trump, don't send the planes to Turkey, don't sell and send those planes. And he pretty much informed that there will be a conflict with Turkey. Well, kind of, but we know it will be. Actually, I have to play the other video, so in a moment. And he also mentioned Cyprus. You know, it's so obvious, right? The number of people from that country that have migrated to Cyprus and buying properties there and settling there. So what do you think if they so-called liberate the other part of Cyprus and they unite Cyprus as one, right? Let's say Turkey is no longer in charge of part of Cyprus. So who's gonna live there? You know who? I think we all know. Let's take a listen to Rabbi.
We have to be prepared for the next war, which will be probably against Turkey and Egypt. We don't think geostrategically. Forget about Jolani, forget about Donald Trump. I am principally worried, first of all, for the welfare of our Druze brothers across the border, but secondarily, if Jolani and his Islamists actually reoccupy that area,
They will.
we will have the
will.
Turks. We will have the Turks right on our border.
Will eventually will.
We eventually will, and I'm not so sure that we will have as easy a time with the Turks as we've had with the Iranians. I've been following Turkish military doctrine, and
The strongest army in the Middle East.
the storm is coming.
Yes, of course. And they are a
I'm
member
not-
of NATO.
And even worse, they're a member of NATO. So I look at Iran as a problem we absolutely have to finish. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Gaza, same thing, and the Hezbollah. Why? Why am I fixated on this now? Because we have to be prepared for the next war, which will be probably against Turkey and Egypt.
Hi, Vey. So we already know the strategy, okay? But don't you worry, Turkey, with the second largest army in NATO, is gonna withdraw from NATO ultimately. So they will just go all steam ahead and they're gonna play this game again. Another conflict, and that's why that region is going to have different borders and everything is going according to the plan. It's just question how they stimulate those events and how they start them. And I am really sarcastic today, guys, because, you know, I'm not enjoying this process. It's just so obvious. They literally, it's like the law in the universe. They have to tell you in advance what they want to do, and you have to consent by hearing it, I guess, or knowing it, I guess. Like the Hollywood movies, right? Well, I'm not really watching movies anymore, hardly, ever. So now I want to play a video that is a very important video. Yesterday I watched an interview on one of the channels. Andy Choiński, he is a Polish Polish man who lives for many, many years in the United States. And he actually has a YouTube channel. I've mentioned him before, that he runs in Polish, right? And he invites different kind of guests of different topics. And he invited someone who I was trying to get on my channel for several months. But whoever is the communication person between that guest and me was just handling this, like this takes forever. I never had a situation like this before. So I kind of let it go because he didn't get back to me. Anyway, this is not about me not having this guest, but this is about what this guest, who is very informative and incredibly knowledgeable, he's from Poland, his name is Marek Chodorowski. What did he say about, let me just give you a context, what's this about? And I will be translating this from Polish into English, reading the subtitles. He had a conversation with a Ukrainian man. And he's going to describe to you what this guy, Ukrainian guy, who used to fight in the war, of course, on Ukrainian side, well, not of course, but like in this case, we know in the Ukrainian side, what did he say about what's really taking place there? And this is so interesting because I believe that this guest, Marek Chodorowski, had a legit conversation, true conversation with this Ukrainian man who actually told him a lot of things that you will never hear anywhere else. So let me take you to this video, guys, and let me translate this for you because this is very important information. Here is this guest. Let me just, yeah, he's muted already. So I'm going to read what he said. And just bear with me. I can quote a conversation I had yesterday, a longer conversation with whose participant was, among others, with Ukrainian guy. The Ukrainian also abandoned the war in Ukraine, meaning he probably deserted. No, I don't want to go into detail about how it happened, but after 3 or so, let me just make it smaller because sometimes, okay, after 3 or so months of fighting near Bucha, he left Ukraine, meaning he ceased to be a member of that Ukrainian army, but he left with the full awareness that participating in this war was pointless. Because apart from the corruption in which Ukrainian generals, perhaps Russian ones, are involved, this is like, translation from YouTube, so it's not perfect. I don't know. He spoke about Ukrainians apart from the gigantic corruption and apart from waging the war, so that there was as many casualties as possible. So that guy told him that the way how they carried out this conflict, and he was fighting in the early stages of it, right? Like Bucha. So we're talking like what, 2022? Yeah, it was in 2022 to 2023 was after Bucha already. So he already talked about this corruption and about the idea of this conflict. So they want as many casualties as possible. Like I said before many times, this is about Christians killing Christians and of course, Greater New Israel. But let's continue. As many casualties as possible, but relatively few material losses of infrastructure. Important communication hubs, for example, he spoke, among other things, about payments to Jews who settle in Ukraine. Okay, this is the part I really want you to hear because I never heard this before and this is very interesting. So there are some payments that Ukrainian government is making to Jews who are settling in Ukraine, which the Ukrainian government supposedly provides for Jews who settle in Ukraine. In other words, he spoke directly and unprompted about the Zionist project currently underway in Ukraine. If he's paying out that money there, the figure is 500 euros or $500 paid to Ukrainians. This amount is twice as much for just their stay. So the Jewish settlers are paid double, it looks like. Paid to Ukrainian soldiers on the front. I think I'm getting this right. In fact, looking for logic in this, he absolutely clearly points to one thing: to bring about maximum depopulation in both Ukraine and Russia. And I agree with this, with what he's saying, not with the process, of course, but I agree with how he explains this and from that conversation. So that Ukrainian guy told him that this is about depopulation. Therefore, reasonable Ukrainians and reasonable Russians are trying not to participate in this war. They give it a white, what is this? A white butt, because it's not really a war, it's a provocation, leading to depopulation and also leading to mutual slaughter. However, his diagnosis of what will happen after the peace was concluded was interesting, and this shows that peace is not at all close. Namely, if there was peace between Russia and Ukraine, everyone in Ukraine is convinced that there would be a full-scale civil war in Ukraine. So he's saying that if there is a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, the civil war in Ukraine will start. And I actually agree with this statement as well, because the scale of hatred towards the individuals who took Ukrainian men and boys from the streets and from their homes and continues to take them away. They keep dragging these people to the front, and these people never come back. So they are essentially throwing them, brutally speaking, into meat grinder from which Ukrainians and Ukrainian men never return. This, according to this version, led to the depopulation of Ukraine of men. So they are depopulating, we know, Ukraine from men. What remained there were women, whom now those who managed to leave will try to bring outside Ukraine. Meanwhile, the scale of hatred towards these those without uniforms, these uniformed units, did I say this? Yeah, these uniformed units, sorry guys for my translation, rounding up the remains of men from Ukraine is supposedly enormous. So he's talking about the level of hatred that's going on in Ukraine towards all those Gestapo men who are kidnapping men from the streets or houses or gym or shopping malls, etc. But there is already vendetta going on. So let's take a listen more to it. So this hatred is enormous in Ukraine. Photos of these officers are being published. Based on the photos, a manhunt is being carried out. The point is to establish the identity of these people, uniformed representatives of Zelensky government, and to determine their place of residence. And apparently, this data, the scale of execution carried out on Zelensky's officers, which is currently taking place in Ukraine, this data is not being officially released. And to tell the truth, this is the first time I've encountered this type of account that is one of which this is a very large-scale execution currently being carried out on officers. So guys, why I decided to bring this interview to your attention is because this gentleman, who is incredibly knowledgeable, by the way, confirmed from this conversation he had with this Ukrainian man, he confirmed everything what I am feeling and seeing, looking at those current events. So we are having part of Ukraine being, the entire country of Ukraine being depopulated. We are having the regions of Ukraine being prepared for the new settlers, okay? And they are actually being paid, which I didn't know, that they pay those settlers for settling there, you know from what country. Meanwhile, there is a manhunt going on after those people who are kidnapping men from the streets. So we already have this tension going on. So whoever is remaining there in Ukraine, because there are still some men that could be, kidnapped and thrown into this meat grinder, they are remaining there. So imagine if there is a peace agreement, which is going to take, I think, a few more years. It's not going to be soon. because they need to depopulate more and they need to clear up more land. And if this agreement happens, there will be a civil war within the country. So more people, again, Christians, they, brother against brother, they're gonna kill more, one of another, the same scenario. And at the same time, the part that is going to belong to the Kadaria 2.0 is perfectly protected, created, established. And that's why you have in charge Putin, and that's why you have in charge Zelensky. That's right, both Jews. Well, I think, well, Putin is a crypto Jew, but he's also a Freemason, okay? So that's another thing. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you want to know more about what's up really with Russia and who is running it, go to my Patreon and locals and let me know what you think about what I just told you from this interview. Very, very interesting interview. I will attach the link down below in the description box if you want to watch it, but you just have to turn on the English translations since this is originally in Polish. So guys, all the links will be down below in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit thumbs up. It's free of charge and it really helps my channel. And you can subscribe. That also is very appreciated, free of charge as well. Lots of love, and remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity, and I see you in another video. Bye everyone.